The Triceratops has got to be up there as one of the coolest herbivores out of the whole dinosaur lore. Like, sure, Brachiosaurus has a long neck, and the Stegosaurus has those plate thingies along their back, but the Triceratops has horns and that, shield-like noggin. Listen, I never claimed to be a dinosaur anatomy expert, but you know what I mean. You actually get to play as a Triceratops in the Jurassic Park campaign, where the game adapts the scene with the sick Triceratops. I haven't talked about it, but a big mechanic of this game is to heal sick dinosaurs. There are 3 ingredients that float around a dinosaur's head, and after it receives those ingredients, it will be healed. If you do this in a level, more often than not, you'll get to play as the dinosaur. Otherwise, it's a form of collectible in the open world. You don't really get to play as the dinosaur you heal in that case, but the game is just like, hey, you did it, you healed a dinosaur, great job. Anyway, the scene in Jurassic Park with the sick Triceratops is likely the genesis of this whole sick dinosaur mechanic. In the Welcome to Jurassic Park level, you get to play as the Triceratops after healing him, and you get to use the Triceratops' only ability, Cracked Wall. Hold down the action button, and the Triceratops charges ahead, breaking anything in front of it. But mainly it's for cracked walls. Before we head on to the main ranking, I will say that the skeleton variant of the Triceratops is actually really cool, especially how they handle the shield-like noggin thing, which is called a frill? Yeah, I could have deduced that, surely. This random, no-name mercenary is one of the standard enemies you see in the Injen Arrival level, where the protagonists break these caged dinosaurs out of their containment. And then, of course, this guy technically becomes an ally after the protagonists are caught and team up with Injen's team. The Injen mercenary has 2 abilities to bring forward, but we've seen both of them already. But it's still nice to see these characters double up on abilities, because that reduces the need to switch between characters, but of course I don't think I need to tell you that. Anyway, the 2 abilities are Target and Injen. The Injen mercenary holds a big rifle that, you guessed it, shoots things. Not sure why this guy has Injen panel access though. I mean, the dino handlers didn't get Injen access, even though low-key I think they should have. To my understanding, mercenaries are usually hired on for a specific mission, and then they dip after it's over. I wouldn't think that this guy would be working under Peter Ludlow long enough to get Injen clearance. Maybe there's some lore about this guy that I'm missing, I don't know. Dietress Stark was one of the mercenaries hired by Peter Ludlow to retrieve dinosaurs from Isla Sorna in the Lost World. They established pretty early on that this guy is scummy because there was a scene right when he got to Isla Sorna that showed him having fun by shocking Compsognathus, which was actually set up for a moment later in the film when an entire pack of Compsognathi, is that the correct plural? Compsognathuses? I don't know. Well, they jumped him when he was alone. From what I've told you about this guy so far, which is pretty much everything you need to know about him, you have to come to respect the choice of abilities the developers gave this guy, of which there are 2. His mercenariness justifies his first ability of track, since he's really be tracking them dinosaurs. Basically, if there's something on the ground, those with the track ability can pick it up and follow the trail set by footprints and studs. When you get close, a character gets down on all 4s and digs up whatever you were tracking. Pretty useful ability if I do say so myself. Also, Dietress Stark's favorite pastime of shocking dinosaurs is reflected with his second ability, Generator. Again, a solid representation of this throwaway side character that got little screen time. But also, Death to Compsognathus? I don't even think dinosaurs get smaller than that, even though it was a pack. I mean, I would have been able to take them easy. Udeski was hired by Paul Kirby to be on the secret rescue team to recover his son in the 3rd film. See, I say secret because it wasn't known to Alan Grant that that's what it was. To him, it was a flyover of the island, with him being the dino expert. But what's a Jurassic Park film without everything going wrong and people getting killed by dinosaurs in the process? And Udeski here, well, he got the short end of the stick in Jurassic Park 3. More than short, I'd say. Not only was he eaten, but he was also used as bait by velociraptors in an attempt to trick the surviving characters. And I gotta say, if I were Udeski, I'd be pissed. Listen, if you got me, just eat me. You know, this whole using me as bait thing would be insulting. Anyway, Udeski graces us with 2 abilities and 2 variants to boot. The first ability is Target, with Udeski having, a rifle. The second ability is Track, which I introduced in the last segment. As I mentioned, Udeski has 2 variants. The standard one has him in a black and blue mercenary fit, and the other variant is just called the Alt variant, with him in what seems to be regular civvy clothing. See, civvy is a term I learned from a military friend, which is just what military folk call non-military folk. It's short for civilian. I don't know. Sounds a little bit like a slur to me, but it's an apt word to use here. Besides, just alt as a descriptor is weird. You can't get more specific. It's like naming a soldier for a specific army just soldier and nothing else. Oh, well, this is awkward. And no, this is not the soldier from Overwatch, but to be honest, that would be more interesting than this guy. So basically, this is one of the several soldiers that came to rescue Alan Grant and his crew from Isla Sorna at the end of Jurassic Park 3. You can thank Mark Degler for that, by the way. He called them using his connections. Anyway, not sure who decided on the outfit, but that giant red dome of a helmet isn't exactly a menacing look. Soldier has 2 abilities, and I'm sorry, let's just go back to the name of the character. You're telling me that you couldn't get an ounce more specific. Whatever, I'm over it for now. But let's get back to those abilities. One of them is the target ability, as it could be surmised from his over-compromising gun. The other ability, which is new to the series, is something I'm going to be calling the Vine ability. No, not the defunct content-creating app, RIP, but actual vines. There are a ton of bright green vines poking out of the ground throughout the game, which makes sense because the setting for all of these movies is mostly vine-ridden jungle. When a character with the vine ability approaches the vines, they pull out a weapon that can be used to cut it down, which is a knife, most of the time. Again, these vines are everywhere, so even though Soldier has an overly ambiguous name, he does have a little something that makes him worthwhile. This guy was actually in the Jurassic World film for a hot second. This guy was pulled into the Raptor enclosure, and it was an opportunity for the film to show off how epic and cool Chris Pratt was, with him entering the Raptor enclosure to get the young Raptor handler out of there. Mind you, this was 2015, and while Chris Pratt did show that he was A-list macho material with Guardians of the Galaxy the previous year, some people still viewed him as Dopey Andy from Parks and Recreation. So this was a perfect opportunity to show that, maybe he isn't Andy, maybe he's cool and epic. Anyway, this young Raptor handler has 2 abilities, one of which is new. Firstly, remember when I mentioned the sick dinosaur mechanic? To activate the mechanic to get the ingredients and floating above its head, you have to dive into a huge pile of dinosaur poop. The logic behind it is that the character searches through the poop and identifies what ingredients would counteract whatever poison is present in the dinosaur poop. I think. I don't know. I'm not a dino doctor. Young Raptor handler is a character that can dive into the poop. Most other characters that don't have the dino dropping ability instead back away anytime they get into close proximity with a copious amount of feces, which is a sensible response. Young Raptor Handler's other ability is the generator ability. I think the developers just gave him this ability with no applied logic. He really could have used a taser stick if he fell into a raptor enclosure. Just thinking out loud. Oh boy, another Injen guy. How many of these guys did Peter Ludlow hire anyway? Turns out, a lot of these guys are ex-poachers who were given amnesty in order to attend this little excursion. So really, the most honorable team imaginable was tasked with the capture of dinosaurs for Jurassic Park San Diego. How fun is that? The Inen Hunter may not get the same privilege as the Injen Mercenary with the Injen ability, even though this guy seems to be actually employed by them. But the Injen Hunter does have a new ability to the series. This new ability is the grapple ability, something we've seen in other LEGO games on this channel. Basically, hold down the action button and those with the grappling ability pull out a grappling hook, and you can aim using this lasso-like crosshair at any orange handle. Pull on it and something happens. Pretty useful ability. Also, the big rifle the Injen Hunter lugs around gives him the target ability, but I figured you figured that already. Man, this is like the 5th character in a row where I'm introducing a new ability. And of all characters, it's just Josh. I mean, it's not all bad. He is the gyrosphere operator of Jurassic World, at least. Funnily enough, this is an actual character seen in Jurassic World. He's the guy who let the 2 main child characters in the film on the gyrosphere ride right before being told to close it, leaving the kids high and dry. I will say, I think his LEGO form makes him look a little older than he actually is. I mean, he looks like a teenager, even though he was 32 when Jurassic World was released. But his LEGO form looks like a straight up, like just, he has a 401k, like he has a couple kids, a wife, whatever. Which, Again, this guy, the actual guy, is an adult, so maybe his Lego form is more accurate to his age than his actual self, which is a compliment to the actor, I think. I don't know, I'm way off base. Let's talk about this Josh guy in this game. First of all, as a Jurassic World worker, he can interact with Jurassic World panels, but the much more interesting new ability is Repair. Again, this ability has been seen in past series on this channel, so it's not really that interesting. Basically, blue sparky machines can be interacted with using the Repair ability, which fixes them and makes them operate in a certain way. You know, Gyrosphere Operator Josh just lets people on and off the gyrospheres and then pushes the buttons. Basically, anyone who works at any amusement park do this on a daily basis. I'm not sure you need proficiency in machinery for that, but I guess it's good that he has it. Whatever. Oh boy, everyone, it's Fisherman Jim, everyone's favorite character, and I can't be arsed to find anything about him. I tried all the usual avenues. I tried Bricklink, nothing. Jurassic Park Wiki, a little something, but I'm not sure if it's anything to go off of. There's a guy named Jim who was a crewmate for the SS&B, a supply ship for Injen. In a scrapped plot detail for the first film, Velociraptors infiltrated the ship, which was headed for Costa Rica. And yes, that now makes 2 scrapped plot details in this franchise where Velociraptors get onto a ship headed for the mainland. Also, assuming the Velociraptors killed all the crewmates, how can they be so sure the boat would still make it to Costa Rica? Do you think the Velociraptors would steer the ship to the right place? I know raptors are smart, but like not that smart, right? Anyway, if the Jim on the SS&B is this Jim, then great. But I'm not going to hold my breath. Fisherman Jim has Grapple and Repair as his 2 abilities. I think both can be rationalized as abilities that a fisherman would have, but what I can't rationalize is Fisherman Jim's existence in this game. This is one of the main protagonists of the 3rd Jurassic Park film, and I'm using quotations because if you've seen this movie, you'd agree that this guy kinda sucks. I mean, imagine yourself as Alan Grant, and some dude who claims to be rich says that he will pay you to be their guide for a flyover of Isla Sorna. But when you're there, you end up landing on the island when they said you wouldn't, and then the plane gets trashed. Just to find out that Mr. Richie Rich Paul Kirby, CEO of Kirby Enterprises, isn't actually rich or a CEO, and now you're just trapped on an island full of dinosaurs looking for this guy's kid. Imagine the commitment to the bit on Paul Kirby's part. Like, he made a logo and everything. Anyway, Paul Kirby has 2 abilities, and he's functionally the exact same as Fisherman Jim with the Grapple and Repair ability. So basically, if you want to be a real character, play Paul Kirby. If you want to not suck, then play as Fisherman Jim. At the very least, Paul Kirby gets 3 variants. There's the standard variant you play as in the main campaign, and then there's the dinner variant where he's all dappered up to look like a wealthy guy. His final variant was made available through DLC with his Montana variant where he's wearing some cool shades. What's a Jurassic Park film without an innocent person getting bamboozled by some dinosaurs? In the first film, it was Joffrey Brown, who was eaten by velociraptors. In the 3rd film, Paul Kirby's son parasails to Isla Sorna right after the boat driver mysteriously disappears after going through a thick fog. In Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World's case, this little girl right here is the subject of bamboozling. What was the dinosaur that committed the said bamboozling? Well, if it isn't our favorite guy, the Compsognathus. Kathy Bowman and her family took a pit stop on the Isla Sorna beach, and Kathy went exploring. She came across a Compsognathus, and then several more showed up, and then they just went to town. Luckily, she survived, but man, is the therapy going to go crazy. Kathy Bowman brings us 2 abilities, and one of them is new. First of all, her being a child should clue you in that she has the hatch ability, so no surprise there. The new one, however, is yet another ability we've seen in past LEGO games. Now, naturally, being attacked by a herd of Compsognathi, or Compsognathuses, you decide. Naturally, you're going to scream, and that's what she has. She screams, and it allows her to break glass. As I called it in the past, I will refer to this ability once more as the glass ability. Simply hold down the action button, and those with the glass ability will build up a scream and let it out, which will make these translucent blue pieces pulse and then break. The glass ability isn't all that common of an ability, but I notice it's only seen with female characters. There's something sexist about that, but I don't have the brain space right now to articulate how.